Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Stars and Stuff. I'm Sawyer. Today we're going to be starting a new series, A Plethora of Planets. Woo! I can't wait to dive into all of the cool and crazy planets that are out there, both in our solar system and beyond. To kick off this new series, we're going to be discussing Mercury. So make sure you bring a fan, because it's about to get hot in here. So first, let's talk about what Mercury is actually like. Mercury's atmosphere is more like a thin exosphere. An exosphere is the last layer of most atmospheres and is made up of low amounts of the things in the atmosphere. And some scientists think that the exosphere isn't actually part of the atmosphere. It is made up of atoms blasted off of the surface by solar wind and meteors, and is mostly made up of oxygen, sodium, and helium. And yet, Mercury is actually the second hottest planet in our solar system. Now, Mercury itself is made up of multiple layers, as with every other planet. This means that all the areas are different. The surface, also known as the crust,
Stuffed crust,
is made up of lots of sulfur and little titanium and iron, which all contribute to its gray color. The layer below the crust is the mantle. The mantle is made of iron and still quite a bit of sulfur. The layer below the mantle is the outer core. The outer core is made up of lots of liquid iron and sulfur. And finally, there's just the inner core. The inner core is made up of all solid iron and just a little sulfur. Unlike almost every other planet in our solar system, Mercury doesn't have any moons or even any rings because it's too close to the sun. And the sun has too much mass and makes the wannabe moons orbit it instead of Mercury. Something that's also really weird to think about is the fact that Mercury's days are longer than its years. Because it's so close to the sun, it orbits very quickly. Only 88 Earth days, in fact. That's a pretty short year. However, Mercury rotates very slowly and strangely. When calculating a day on Mercury, we aren't just looking at how long it takes for the planet to make one full rotation. Instead, we must see how much time elapses from one sunrise to the next. This is important because on our planet, the time between these two things is about the same. However, on Mercury, they are vastly different. Mercury takes about 59 Earth days to complete a full rotation. However, due to its elliptical orbit around the sun in Mercury's sky actually rises to a certain point, then seems to stop, and then seems to go backward, drawing sort of a circle in the sky. That's its orbit. This occurs over almost exactly 3 rotations, with a full 176 Earth days elapsing between each sunrise. This means that each day on Mercury lasts 2 of Mercury's years. So what are some fun facts about Mercury aside from its wacky calendar? Well, on average, Mercury is about 48 million miles from Earth, on average because of its orbits, and is the closest planet to Earth most of the time. How is this, you might ask? Well, it's because Mercury is the closest to the sun. In fact, Mercury is closest to every planet that orbits the sun. You might think that it's Saturn, is closer to Jupiter because on a straight line it is. But all of the planets orbit at different speeds, and they didn't all come into the solar system in a straight line. So since Mercury orbits around the Sun so fast, it is the closest planet to all the other planets. In fact, everything that orbits the Sun. And remember how we said that it's the second hottest planet? Well, Mercury can reach up to 800 degrees Fahrenheit, 430 degrees Celsius, on the surface during the day, and dip all the way down to minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 185 degrees Celsius, due to that poor heat retention that we mentioned earlier. Mercury is also only slightly larger than Earth's moon and about 1/3 of Earth's size. The core, both inner and outer, of Mercury is 42% of Mercury's total size. It is nearly the size of Earth's core, which makes up only 17% of Earth's size. In fact, Mercury has the biggest core relative to the size of its planet out of all of the planets in the solar system. Also, Mercury has a surface gravity of only 38% of that of the surface gravity here on Earth. That means that a can of Coke, which is about 370 grams, on Mercury would only weigh about that of a baseball, which is 140 grams, here on Earth. So that sums up our good friend Mercury. Thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and maybe even share it with your friends. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and a day on Mercury lasts about 1,408 hours, or about the same length as a Monday here on Earth. Okay.
What's the weather forecast for today, Jim? Well, Jimbo, it'll be a high of 800 degrees Fahrenheit this afternoon, and so don't forget your water. And at midnight tonight, it'll dip all the way down to minus 300 Fahrenheit, so get your blankets out. Thank you for that, Jim, and a special thanks to our executive producer, Jimmy, and of course me, Jimbo, and our editor, Jimothy. We are Jim and Jimbo and Jimothy and Jimmy Incorporated. Jim, and Jim for short.
Hi.